Well, when I look at the current systems and what's missing from them being a kind of general intelligence, I would say things like continual learning, so learning after they've been trained and put out into the world. The today's systems, we train them, we do various different types of training on them, and then they're kind of frozen and then put out into the world. But what you'd like is for those systems to continually learn online from experience, to learn from the context they're in, maybe personalized to the situation that, and the tasks that you have for them. And today's systems don't do that. Also, they have difficulty in things like doing long-term coherent plans. They can plan over the short term, but over the longer term, like the way that we can plan over years, they don't really have that capability at the moment. But I think probably one of the biggest issues is what I would call consistency. So today's systems, they're kind of like jagged intelligences. They're very good at certain things, but they're very, very poor at other things, including sometimes the same thing. So, for example, today's systems can get gold medals in the International Maths Olympiad, really hard problems, but sometimes can still make mistakes on elementary maths if you pose it, the question in a certain way. A true general intelligence system shouldn't have that kind of jaggedness.
But aren't humans jagged as well?
No, not in that way. I don't think so. So I think if you're an expert in maths, and many of you in the room are, or in physics or something like that, you're not going to sort of make a mistake on a strictly easier, more trivial problem, right? You would have some way to work through that problem. Similarly, let's take the example of games, which is very close to my heart, and we've used in the early days of DeepMind to train our AI systems. Today's general foundation models are very poor at, for example, playing chess, below kind of weak amateur level. And that is not what you would expect from an AGI system. There are other tests, too, that I would have is true creativity. So AI is very useful as a scientific tool, an assistant, or for solving specialized areas like AlphaFold does with protein structures. But really what separates great scientists from good scientists is their creativity and their sort of, maybe you could call it taste, for what's the right question. What's the right hypothesis? And it's much harder to come up with the right question and the right hypothesis than it is to solve a conjecture. And, I would call that the highest level of sort of creativity. And so far, today's systems, they don't have that capability. One way we maybe would test that is you could imagine training a foundation model with a knowledge cutoff of something like 1911, and then see if it could come up with general relativity like Einstein did in 1915. But that would be a good test, I think, for AGI. And I think today's systems clearly would not be capable of doing that. But I think this will be solved in time.
Okay, that's great. So you talked about scientific tool, it's a tool for scientific discovery, right? And so we see a lot of headlines about AI, making great